Hi, Really community. We are doing a Instagram live today all about blood sugar with the Living Kitchen. So I'm just going to add our guest in and we'll get started. Hi, everyone. So we are doing an Instagram live today all about blood sugar. Hi.
Hello. I always get so impressed when tech works properly. I'm like, yes, I've joined. I'm here. Amazing.
Me too. Me too. I always feel the same way. But you're here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. Let me back up a bit so I can be fully on camera.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Today we have Tamara Green from The Living Kitchen. Tamara is a nutritionist, cookbook author, wellness shift, and co-founder of the company, The Living Kitchen. If you haven't checked them out before, they are fantastic. Do you want to tell us a little bit about The Living Kitchen in your own words? It's just such a great company, and I would like our community to get to know you a bit better.
Absolutely. So my business partner and I created our company, The Living Kitchen, that we've been running for more than a decade now. And we wear many hats and we do many things. One of them is we have a private chef service. So imagine you have a chef come to your home once a week, cook all your meals for you, leave them in the fridge, freezer, done, and they leave, and now you have all your food for the week. That's one of our services. And that's fun is that we run a program called Empowered Health, where we empower people a lot through understanding their blood sugar and going through different modalities like sleep and movement and food and nervous system and stress that basically just makes you feel really connected to yourself and your body so you can live a very healthy life.
Yeah.
We do lots of consulting. We have a cookbook called The Living Kitchen, which
It's
was specific.
fantastic. Your recipes are fantastic.
Are honestly sometimes like I toot my own horn because I make my own recipes from the book and they're great. So it came out in 2019 and was really specific for people who were going through cancer treatment and their caregivers. And then we have another cookbook that's set to come out next year, and it's called Good Food, Good Mood, and it's all about the relationship between food and mental health.
Which is
So
so important. And yeah, I love that. Some really great things that you're covering and using the healing powers of foods is fantastic. I don't have you for too long, so I really want to jump into it and just pick your brain. So everyone, we are going to be talking about a lot about blood sugar today, which is definitely a topic that not only is so incredibly important, but is quite popular right now. So we're going to kind of just go over everything with someone that really knows their stuff. So we're going to just jump right into it if that works for you.
yeah, let's go.
Okay, cool. So why is understanding your blood sugar so important when it comes to your overall health?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you some backstory first. So you went to nutrition school. I went to nutrition school. When we were in school, we learned balance your blood sugar, stabilize your blood sugar. These were terms that were thrown around all the time. And I figured because of how I ate, like, of course my blood sugar was steady, right? Like, of course, I eat whole foods and all that. So I didn't truly give it much thought, to be honest. And then about 5 years ago, I started doing some research into understanding, because we worked a lot with people with cancer, like certain drivers of cancer and other diseases. And what I found was that blood sugar was a big, big, big driver of many of these chronic diseases because it leads to something called insulin resistance, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what my blood sugar is really like if I test it. And so what I did a couple of years ago, my brother-in-law has type 1 diabetes. He had a glucometer. He was no longer using, and all these testing strips he was no longer using. And he said, sure, take it. And I was like, okay. So I started testing my blood sugar and I went, holy crap. Like, the foods that I'm eating that I think are so nourishing and my body is loving, they're actually skyrocketing my blood sugar to levels like way, way, way high. But this was the main thing that it did for me when I was able to kind of get a look under the hood and see what was going on inside my body, was I was able to connect my feelings and my behavior to my blood sugar. So for example, I would be so foggy and headachy and sitting at my computer and kind of thinking like, I don't think I can keep doing what I'm doing right now. And I would measure my blood sugar and it would be like, it was at 9, it was very high. And so I was like, oh, this is what it feels like in my body to have blood sugar. And then where it impacts behavior is it's not just, okay, focus with work, but I have young kids and I was like yelling and had no capacity and was really angry. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? I'm really low blood sugar, or I'm really high blood sugar and I'm just too tired to even deal with them. So I suddenly saw there were so many connections within my life all related to blood sugar. So that's just the behavior and the emotional aspect of it. That's not even like really the health aspect of it. So why do we care about blood sugar? There's basically short-term benefits and there's long-term benefits. So the short-term benefits are kind of the ones I just spoke about, which is like you get to feel more focused, you get to feel more energetic, you get to feel more present in your body, you get to feel just better, to be honest. And then also, like every time your blood sugar spikes high, basically that's a stress on your blood vessels. And so over time, that can become a really big issue that eventually leads to cardiovascular disease. And when we ride this glucose roller coaster all day, which means when we spike our blood sugar really high and then we crash it really low and then we spike it high again and we crash it really low again, and this cycle just continues. The roller coaster, what it eventually does is eventually our cells are like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not going to accept any more glucose inside of me. And what happens is not only does our blood sugar stay elevated, but our insulin stays elevated as well. So we have two things that are kind of like hanging out in our blood. And our pancreas goes, oh, that's so weird that blood sugar sort of isn't going inside the cell. Maybe I need to release even more insulin just to see if that helps. And then basically we have even more insulin hanging out in the blood. And this is called insulin resistance. So it's essentially where your cells resist insulin. And this here is the biggest driver of heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer, cancer, certain cancers, obviously diabetes. And those are really debilitating conditions and the ones that take a lot of people out. And I just thought like, well, if we can control our insulin a little bit more, how do we, and the best way to do that really is to keep blood sugar really, really steady.
I love that. That's such a great description too of kind of the 101 as well of blood sugar, like what's happening in the body. And it really is one of those things that I think the general public, we overlook it as it being such an important pillar essentially for our health. And as you mentioned, all of these different conditions, both mentally and physically. So I love that. That was such a great description. What does it mean exactly to balance blood sugar? I think it's something that, you know, in the health space, we say a lot. And sometimes I think we forget that most people don't really know what that means. Could you give us a little description of like what it means to balance your blood sugar?
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. And yes, a lot of people don't know what it means. And for a long time, I didn't really know what it means.
I thought I did. Oh yeah, I'm
just we're in nutrition school, which was quite a while ago now. You know, the balance your blood sugar meant you were eating constantly throughout the day, because the idea back then was, well, if you're eating constantly, you're never going to go low. And if you never go low, your blood sugar is balanced. Well, we know that is no longer the case. And what balancing your blood sugar really means is it's a lot more of a steady line. So imagine a graph, almost like what I did before with the roller coaster. And imagine your spikes just aren't going as high and your dips aren't going as low, because I will say it's a very, very normal function of the body to spike and crack and like go down. Like that is very normal. Whoever says like just have a totally flat line, like that's just, you know, I don't know what you're eating, but that's totally not achievable and really not even that healthy for your body. You've got to spike a little and you got to dip a little. That's normal.
Flows. The ebb and flows are good.
That ebb and flows. But really, that's what we want. We want sort of a gentle ebb and flow. We want a rolling hill. We don't want this, you know, high up, crash down. So what does balance your blood sugar mean? It means that your blood sugar is staying in this steady kind of pattern. And there are a few ways to achieve this, because it's not just food that helps us steady our blood sugar, but the main way is to eat a meal that's rich in like three main things. One is protein, one is fiber, and one is fat. So you want basically those three components to be a part of every single one of your meals, even your snacks. And when those things are there, not only do you feel like satiated and full, and then you don't feel like you need to be eating all throughout the day, but also the meal will basically just, the way it's processed in your body, your glucose won't spike as high. So that's really what balancing your blood sugar means.
Yeah,
Did I?
that totally.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
It's very, you explained it very well. Thank you. And I think that's something too, like, as you mentioned, when I feel like even myself as someone who, you know, went to school for nutrition, it wasn't until I actually started incorporating those things, like you said, protein, fat, and fiber, like actually including them, especially protein, where I did feel such an like huge difference, especially in my mental health. And that's just me personally speaking, but no, it's a great explanation. If someone is experiencing blood sugar imbalance, what's a really great way, like some symptoms that one could be experiencing that would be an indication that maybe that's something that they need to really focus on?
Yeah. So this is what we tell people to do. If they're not going to fully monitor their blood sugar just for a little bit with the glucose monitor or glucometer or whatever, this is how you check in with your body. So first things first is when you eat something, okay, think about how you feel before you eat something. So just think like, how am I? Am I tired? Am I energetic? Am I foggy? It's good to check in before the first meal of the day, because that's kind of like your baseline. Think about how you feel. That's your baseline, and you want to come back to this feeling throughout the day.
Yeah.
So eat whatever your meal is, and then we say do a check-in. This is a lot, but this is if you really want to understand. Do a check-in like 15 to 30 minutes after you eat, and then 1 hour and 2 hours after you eat. And check-in is basically asking yourself, how am I feeling? Am I feeling totally fine and energetic? Am I feeling perfectly full? Now, oftentimes, if your blood sugar goes quite high, the feelings you're going to experience, it depends how high, are like tingling extremities. Like I know my fingers and my hands tend to tingle.
Yeah.
I will feel like I need to lie down, like I'm really tired. I will feel a heaviness over my eyes or like a very slight headache. Those I would say are the main symptoms when you feel like your blood sugar is going really, really high. I would say if you can, test for 3 days. So meaning take 3 days and check in with yourself after you eat, that 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, and see what's going on. Usually your peak glucose happens between 45 minutes and like an hour-ish. So really check in at that time to see how am I feeling. I'll also say a lot of people were so in our routine and busyness that we may not even notice it's impacting us until we stop and check in.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're at your computer, you're doing, I don't know, whatever your work is or whatever you do during the day, you might be so focused in that you can't even connect it. So just slow down for a second, connect the dots. But that's usually what high blood sugar feels like. Really low blood sugar, a lot of people are really familiar with this one. And low blood sugar would feel like hanger.
Yes.
Short with people. Get me something carby, get me coffee, get me something right now, or I'm like gonna explode at you. So that one I feel like is a lot more common. We've all experienced that for sure and could tell, yeah, this is really low blood sugar. So those are the differences.
Yeah, it's interesting as well as someone who I'm really interested in kind of just anxiety. I'm someone definitely that can be a bit more of a high strung person. And it's so fascinating when you compare, you know, the symptoms of anxiety and then the symptoms of imbalanced blood sugar. They are almost identical. It's really fascinating. And I mean, yeah, once you can kind of really, you know, start balancing your blood sugar, some of those symptoms really tend to subside, or you're better able to handle a lot of the stressors that life throws away, right?
100%. So yeah, heart palpitations, I forgot that's one of them too. Yeah. So we have a client, so a few of our clients, depending on where they're at and through our Empowered Health program, we give everyone a continuous glucose monitor. I'll show you if you can like see it. It looks like that.
Cool. Yeah.
You wear it just for 2 weeks and that's it. We don't want you to wear it for your whole life. We just want you to gain data about your body, and then great, let's take that information and run with it and see how we can better your life. So we had one client wear it, and she was a mom to 4 kids. She was an entrepreneur. She lived a really busy, hectic life, and she had some really intense anxiety. And when she put on the glucose monitor, what we found was every time she ate, let's say it was like leftovers on her kid's plate, or had like extra pieces of pizza or lots of pizza for dinner, or whatever she was eating, whenever her glucose went really high, that's when all of these symptoms of her anxiety came on. And she would like hide in the cupboard and like have to basically kind of talk herself through the symptoms. And when she connected the dots and was like, holy crap, every time my blood sugar goes high, that's when I'm experiencing all these anxious episodes. And so just being able, and I will tell you, balancing your blood sugar is not a cure for a lot of people's anxiety. I'm not saying that, trust, but I'm
saying that.
I'll say that it helps a lot. And for this particular client, it was so eye-opening and so freeing to know, like, oh, I can actually control a lot of what I'm feeling just by tweaking my diet slightly, not even making, you know, huge overhauls. So.
And I love that. And like you said, it's not like a cure-all, but it's a way when you can really tune into your body as you were describing, and you know, really put those practices in play, then you're better able to, you feel more empowered because you feel more in control to some extent. And yeah, you're better able to handle it. So, I love that she was able to find some relief with that. That's incredible. Okay, we have many more questions, so we're going to move on because I really want to pick your brain. Okay, so when it comes to balancing blood sugar, we're going to get into tips and all the hacks and stuff like that. But I do want to talk a little bit about how can we, you know, we're including more protein, more fat, more fiber, but how can we still enjoy the foods that we love, like, you know, sweet treats, you know, croissants, all that kind of stuff, while still avoiding kind of that blood sugar spike that we spoke about.
Yeah.
Would you be able to kind of lead us through that?
Yeah. So this is going to go through the hacks actually, because it's the hack.
We'll do it all in one. We'll do a two-parter for
all in one.
So we'll do hacks for blood sugar and ways that we can still enjoy the food we love without the big spike. So go ahead.
Okay. So I will say there are certain foods that no matter what, they're going to spike you high, but you just won't spike as high. So I'm going to give you an example because I feel like tangible examples are really the things that they help my brain at least. So one of the things is if you want to eat like sugary, simple carb, starchy carb kind of food, what to do is to eat a meal or eat something that has that protein, fiber, and fat first, and then eat it. So here's my example. So I have 2 young children. My husband makes a challah French toast for them on Saturday mornings. It is like it is like a glucose bomb. Okay, it's like white flour, tons of maple syrup, like all this, right? And so what I often do is I will have a smoothie that has protein powder. Maybe it has like a scoop of tahini or peanut butter in there. It's got hemp seeds and chia seeds and maybe some berries and some sort of spinach. And I'll drink that. And then I'll have a piece of the French toast. And it will have like minimal impact. I won't feel the effects of it. I'll notice if I'm tracking my glucose, I notice a big difference. So that's why actually having dessert at the end of the meal is one of the best things you can do, because if your meal has those components in it already, it's just not going to spike as high. If you want to see if you can have, something that has protein, fiber, fat first. And then some of the other hacks include like, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and some water before you're about to eat something that's quite starchy. And the reason and you can use it as a salad dressing too if you don't want to just take it down. Yeah. And the reason for that is the vinegar has something called acetic acid in it. And within the acetic acid, it interferes with how starches digest in our body. And it also interferes with how the pace of our food getting released from our stomach and our small intestine. And for that reason, glucose just doesn't spike as high. So that would be one of the hacks. For also enjoying, like maybe you're enjoying a beautiful pasta dinner, and so you'll have that tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before. Another thing is if you just go for a walk like after you eat, that makes an enormous difference in terms of bringing glucose down, but also bringing a lot of the symptoms of glucose down. So a long time ago, I actually tested a croissant. I love croissants. I think they're so delicious. And so I was like, I want to see what happens when I do these things. And it did skyrocket my blood sugar like very high and for a walk, and things came down very quickly. So when we have more muscle or our muscles are in movement, basically they act like a sink for our glucose. They take up all of that glucose that's in our blood, sometimes without the need of insulin even. And so that's a really great way. And you don't even have to walk after. It can even be like any type of movement before. Any type of movement helps, but especially movement that really uses your muscles. So like strength training is wonderful. Squats and even dancing, like any movement is really helpful.
I love that. And those are really easy too. Like it's one of those things that you're not being restrictive. Like if you're going out for like a really nice pasta dinner or someone made a really beautiful dinner, it's not like you just can't have it. Just having a little bit of that apple cider vinegar, or perhaps like you were saying, have it in a dressing and having like a small salad before you enjoy that pasta, and actually enjoy it and sit and slowly digest it and smell your food, that can have such a massive effect. And then we were saying too with the movement, how lovely is it now, especially now that it's starting to get warmer outside, going for a nice walk after dinner. Like what a great way to not only lower your blood sugar, but connecting with nature, maybe going with your family or by yourself, clearing your head. So those tips are great because it's like, especially with the walking, it's two birds, one stone, right? You're lowering your blood sugar, but it's also mindfulness and all of those other wonderful things, and it's free.
Yeah. And I'll say, I have 2 young kids. Walking after dinner isn't always feasible. So I have stairs in my home that I'm like, if I'm really feeling crappy from the meal, I'll go up and down the stairs. I'll put on music while the dance party together. It's like any movement is helpful.
Oh, I love that. The stairs is great. Okay, so people with kids, just a couple running the stairs or doing like a couple of those like squats, just doing like 10 squats or something. That's like you're at a dinner party and like starting to do squats. People are like,
don't mind me, I'm just in the corner squatting. I'll be back in a second.
Those are great. I do want to ask your opinion as a holistic nutritionist and someone who's very experienced in this. What are your thoughts on 0 calorie or 0 sugar sweeteners, even natural ones such as stevia or monk fruit? I know it's kind of like an obvious that when it comes to aspartame and stuff, that's definitely something that I would avoid, but I would love to hear your feedback regarding more of the natural ones such as stevia and monk fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, low glycemic, no glycemic sugars are great. I'm curious, like, how are you using them and what are you using them for? And is it a little bit in your coffee? Is it in a baked good? Like, I think it's so person dependent, to be honest, because I use a lot of coconut sugar and maple syrup and honey, and those things spike blood sugar a lot, but I just do the hacks around them. So that they work in my life because those are just the ones I prefer. I prefer the taste. I like them better. That's what it comes down to. And I think it really just depends on you. If I was someone who maybe did have pre-diabetes, or I did have type 2 diabetes, I might think about these sweeteners a little bit more and incorporating them into my diet and my life. But I kind of like getting natural sweetness also from fruit, and using more like honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar. Those are my personal go-tos. I don't think there's anything wrong with stevia and monk fruit sweetener. And if you want to incorporate them, amazing.
Yeah.
I think you can also do the other things, and you can kind of do the hacks around them.
I love that. And kind of just all about balance, right? Like not too much of anything, kind of that Goldilocks mentality where you're like, not too much, not too little, just right enough, just to add some sweetness to your life. But if you are someone, you know, that does definitely need to watch that, such as someone with diabetes, then it's okay.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can be so, in the health space, people can be so black and white. So I do really love that approach. What are some examples of some blood sugar friendly foods, like more whole foods that you can kind of just like go to?
Yeah. Like one food or like an entire meal?
Just like give us some example of like maybe some lower glycemic fruits, or maybe some just like things that people can pay attention to that would be maybe lower blood sugar,
Mm-hmm.
or friendly. Yeah.
Okay. So lower glycemic fruits would always be like green apples and berries are kind of the go-to when it comes to lower glycemic fruits, as opposed to maybe mangoes and bananas, and papaya might be higher, or cantaloupe. And the thing is, I wouldn't avoid eating those. The spike that comes from fruit often will come down very quickly just because there is fiber in there too. But if you feel the effects of it, have it with some nuts, like have it with, or a nut butter or something that will help balance it a little bit more. Other blood sugar friendly foods, like it really is this combination. So anything that has fat in it, whether it's avocado or olives or nuts, it's not going to have any impact on your glucose. It doesn't mean go nuts with them. It just means it's not going to have an impact on your glucose because it's a fat. So when I think of blood sugar friendly foods, I really think of foods in combination with each other versus just one. So most proteins, like animal proteins specifically, and tofu and tempeh, they're not really going to raise your blood sugar very much at all. Protein has like a slight impact, but barely.
Yeah.
So also, anytime you eat something like that, it's really not going to make much of an impact on your glucose. And then the other things that are wonderful for you, but are like beans and legumes. Like they're so incredible in terms of the amount of fiber they have. Some people are more sensitive to them than others. I know I'm more sensitive, but I love them. So I just eat them with like nuts and seeds and tahini, and maybe I'll have some animal protein with them.
Totally.
And my blood sugar balancing foods in my mind are ones that really work in combination versus just a singular food on its own.
Yeah, I love this. And this might be a little redundant, and we do have you for like, I think a couple more minutes, but what would be kind of really quick, what would be kind of your go-to blood sugar balancing meal or snack that is accessible and that someone can just grab? Like what would be like your go-to?
Okay.
First, yeah.
I'll tell you my go-to. I have this for breakfast or lunch when I have like zero time.
Okay.
So I have a slice of German rye bread. Do you know the like really intense dark rye bread? So I'll toast that up. And I'll make 2 eggs and some sauerkraut, and that is my like very, very quick breakfast. Sometimes some other meals that would be very helpful for blood sugar, like, and if you have no time, especially, like open a can of chickpeas, toss some tahini and lemon together, and slice up just a bunch of vegetables. You could do really easy ones like carrots and tomatoes and cucumbers, and put that on top with some salt and pepper. Like these are the really easy blood sugar balancing ones.
Yeah. That mine is, I was at the Really Kitchen yesterday and I was making a lot of delicious, healthy but delicious, more sugary treats. And I knew that I was going to be trying them all. So I literally just opened a can of sardines and ate a can of sardines just because I was like, it's fast, it's easy, accessible. I personally love the taste. So I just crushed a can of sardines, and then I was able to do, my recipe tasting and testing and all that kind of stuff without you know, getting that spike that I probably otherwise would have gotten.
That's
so
brilliant. That is so brilliant.
Yeah.
It's for a few reasons. One, like you're getting the beautiful fat from them. You're also getting the beautiful protein from them. So well done.
Thank you. Just some little tips. Thank you so much for having us today. That went by so quickly. I can't believe I literally feel like that was 5 minutes. Can you just tell our community where they can find you and your amazing company, The Living Kitchen, and where they can find you and connect with you?
Yes. So our Instagram, which you could probably see if you're on this live right now because it says it at the top.
Oh, for sure.
That is at Living Kitchen Co. And you can find us there. And then you can also find us on our website, which is livingkitchenwellness.com. But we do hang out quite a bit on Instagram. So feel free to reach out there.
Amazing. And when is your cookbook coming out again?
I don't know exactly when, but it's coming out in 2024. So sometime next year.
Amazing. Yeah. And if anyone has not heard of the Living Kitchen cookbook before, it is really, really fantastic. And we love it at the Really Kitchen and we highly recommend it. So thank you so much for coming again. We seriously appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Oh my gosh, thank you for inviting me. I feel like we could talk for 2 hours, but this was
like, let's just chatting. We should definitely have you back. We would love to have another conversation around, you know, a different topic. You are very knowledgeable and we would love to have you back.
Absolutely. Okay. All right.
I hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.